when you work for Mugler, you know that you need to think outside the box. And if you do something too classical, it's not Mugler. My leadership is about kindness. And it was not that fashionable to be kind 20 years ago. Sometimes you will doubt, sometimes it will be a bit hard, but you're going to have so much fun. You're going to learn a lot.
Welcome to a new episode of the Luxury Leadership Talks, a podcast and a videocast in which I meet inspiring, charismatic leaders across all different industry segments. And today we are going to dive into the fascinating world of beauty and fashion, and this at the same time. And guess what? We are going to do that with an exceptional woman and leader, the global president of Mugler, fragrances and fashion, Danièle Lahana Aidenbaum.
Thank you very much, Michaela. What a warm welcome.
Oh, thank you very much, Danièle, for hosting us in your new headquarters of Mugler. Maybe you want to say something where we are right now.
So first, welcome. Welcome to Mugler Fashion Headquarters. It's our brand new headquarters, as you can see from the squeaky queen color. Yeah. So we moved in very recently, mid-May. So it's very new. And we are very close from Bourse. I don't know if you can see it from the window, but Palais Brongniart is just behind the window. And yeah, we are super happy to have those new offices for Mugler Fashion. It's 3 floors when the whole fashion team is here. So just next to this curtain is Casey Cadwallader, our creative director, the genius behind the new comeback of Mugler Fashion, and the whole team working for this extraordinary brand, fantastic brand, the studio, the creative studio, production, development, the atelier, where we do pieces, but also custom made for VIPs, and the whole team behind the magic, communication, management, commercial, sales, like the whole Mugler fashion team is right in this building.
And you say magic. I mean, you can see, I've just been walking actually through the building. And if you are now connected on a podcast and would love to see actually what is happening while we are discussing, connect on YouTube, because on YouTube you can see everything that we are filming right now and you can be with us. And I've seen the complexity, of a fashion brand with so many hands, so many talents working around it, building it, designing it. I saw the prototypes, which are
some are still secret. They're going to be shown at our next fashion show on the 2nd of October.
2nd of October is the next one? Yeah. Okay, so now you know.
For Spring/Summer 24 ready to wear.
So big suspense.
Yeah.
Danièle, now you're heading Mugler. In 2019, Mugler incorporated into the realm of L'Oréal luxury division.
In 2020, exactly.
In 2020, exactly. And I must admit, L'Oréal is very dear to my heart. It's a company where I started my career in 1999, where I stayed for 7 years, also in the luxury division for different brands, Helena Rubinstein, Biotherm, Travel Retail,
of course.
and so on.
It does ring a bell.
It rings a bell. It marks your spirit. That's where I learned all of my marketing. What can you say about your beginnings at L'Oréal and maybe some of the major stepstones of this amazing career path?
Totally. So I did my whole career at L'Oréal.
So a full L'Oréal
baby. That's what we say between L'Oréalians. We say we are L'Oréal babies. So I'm a L'Oréal baby. I started in 2006 as an intern. At the end of my business school, I did ESCP, EAP business school. And at the end of my business school, there was a marketing case called the Live Marketing Case for L'Oréal. And I got to know L'Oréal and how L'Oréal works. And I really wanted to do my last internship at L'Oréal. And I started Rue Royale, what is called now Professional Product Division. But at that time, we used to call it La Coiffure. And I started in what we call DMI, Development Marketing International, for L'Oréal Professionnel, for styling, while I never put anything on my hair. And I fell in love with L'Oréal. Immediately. I fell in love with the culture, the energy, the passion. People are so passionate at L'Oréal. And you can do anything, even if you are an intern or a product manager. You can create product work with labs, create new formulas, new packaging.
And they trust you a lot. That's what I experienced. You are like sometimes thrown into the water.
Totally.
You swim.
We see if you can swim. We see if you can swim.
Then you can do.
Yeah, and you are also surrounded by extraordinary talents around you. And this helps you grow. And after 6 months of internship, I really wanted to stay at L'Oréal. And before working for professional product division, I had only worked in luxury with my previous internships. And so following that, I was conducted to the luxury division, and I did my whole career in the luxury division. It's 17 years now.
17 years.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's not getting us any younger, but yeah, 17 years. And I started at Bioserm.
You did?
I did start at Bioserm. Yeah, I loved skincare when I was younger. I still do, but I was really obsessed with skincare.
I think in 2006, right?
Yeah,
so
totally.
You started when I left.
Oh, but in the end, we found each other.
Exactly. And I always say at L'Oréal, you always keep very, very close connections.
Super close connection.
And across the planet. Like when I give a conference today somewhere to any luxury brand, I can be sure that at least one person is in the audience that comes from L'Oréal. And you also said business case. This rings me a bell. How much, since I'm professor at business schools, at Odense Business School, and when we work on business cases, how much we shape people's mindset, young people's mindset, and then joining an industry or a company that they desire to work for. Yeah,
and I think what's really different at L'Oréal is that you really have a chance to shine and to learn very young. And then it never stops. Even when you get older, say I'm 42 today, I'm still learning every day from my job. I had never done fashion before, and it's L'Oréal who gave me this opportunity to lead a fashion brand next to a fragrance brand. And when you're in L'Oréal, you learn every day. You learn from people, from the market. You always have, that thrilling energy to seize what is starting. And to be at the head of all the trends and create the products for tomorrow, the products of tomorrow, and also launch them hand in hand with all the market. You talked about travel retail, of course, but I'm lucky enough to work with the US, with China, with Europe. So it's a very, very complete job, and I'm never bored. And I'm also very happy. I love my job.
I always say, looking back now years after L'Oréal, to me, L'Oréal was probably one of my best schools.
Totally.
And they trust you. I mean, it's just a matter of proof that they gave you the fashion CEO position without having done fashion before, but they trust you as a person, as a leader. For myself, that's where I've learned about branding, about brand creation, about repositioning of brands, about travel retail, about trade marketing, coordination of 70 different markets. And I also remember it was a very oral company culture. Hundreds and hundreds of presentations to top management that you needed to convince. And I think this is also what shaped my career as a professional keynote speaker, to be at ease talking to so many different brands of any kind. What did L'Oréal give you on your career path as a leader in terms of, I would say, qualities, leadership qualities?
Wow, a lot. When I started, I was very young. I was 25. I was a young product manager. So, of course, when you spend 17 years within a company, it shapes you. I think what L'Oréal really taught me is how to play both on creativity and at the same time business-oriented mindset. What we call in French poète and paysan. Poète and paysan. And it's very true. And I knew I could be a peasant because I love figures. I've always loved mathematics. But what really L'Oréal taught me is how to be also very creative. I didn't know I had that in me. And so that's...
Really these two mindsets.
And that's a big chance. And then, of course, lead people, because L'Oréal is all about people. So become a leader. And I was lucky enough to be surrounded by very talented leaders who showed me how to spend time with people, how to transmit, to be generous with them, to train them. And I think when I'm really happy is when I see people who used to be in my team who now have big jobs.
Who climbed the ladder.
And I see how they grew, who they became, the leader they became. And it's a real source of pride. And I think what also L'Oréal taught me is to stay true to who you are.
Don't change yourself.
No, don't change yourself. You are who you are. You find your own leadership. And then you live with this, with your qualities, your defaults too. But stay true to yourself.
And try to improve whatever you do and question yourself.
Exactly.
You mentioned a couple of times people.
Yeah.
I think from how I know you, how I discovered you, you're a true people person.
Yeah, I am.
Is there something in your roots, I don't know, that helped you to become a true loving people person?
Yeah, so I was raised by a Moroccan mom. So of course, she's a true one, a Moroccan Jewish mother. So she's very warm. And I think...
Tagine, couscous.
Yeah, of course. But, you know, we speak every day, every morning. I'm also super close to my dad, and we are, very I was raised by this Oriental warm family, and I think I kept this link to people, to be really open to people, to meeting new people. And I think I'm also very generous, which is definitely something I got from my education, generosity. So I never count the time I spent with people, with my team, but also, you know, in my regular life. Yeah. So yeah, I do connect a lot with people, and be a leader with a team and create a real team with team spirit, people that get on together, that create something together, that collaborate together is definitely super important in my leadership today.
And I think generosity, the best proof is that you accepted straight away that we do this podcast together. Because I think today a podcast is meant to share, to pass on to other people, maybe to the young generation as well, about what you've learned, what your stepstones were, and what you can give on. And what better than a podcast, which has such a huge reach on the different podcast channels and also on video, what others can learn from you. It's the best business case, I think.
Thank you very much.
Maybe not everybody is so familiar with Mugler, the brand, fashion, fragrances. Can you say a word about it so that we can really get an idea of
I could
what
spend
it
the
is?
whole day talking about Mugler.
So maybe we keep it to the essential messages, what the DNA is, what makes Mugler unique compared maybe to other fashion brands as well, and also fragrances.
So Mugler is a French brand that was born in 1974. So next year we will celebrate our 50th anniversary. Yes. And Mugler was created by Monsieur Mugler, Manfred Thierry Mugler. He was a creative genius. I didn't have the opportunity to meet him, unfortunately, but he had this audacity. And I think if we have to say a few words about Mugler, Mugler is fearless. So when you wear Mugler, you feel really empowered. Our creative director, Casey, he loves to say that we give a supercharged version of yourself. So when you wear Mugler, you feel this supercharged version of yourself, and I really love it. I think that's really true. You feel strong, you feel powerful. And I think it's also a very inclusive brand. So talking about being true to yourself, whoever you are, you can wear Mugler, you can be Mugler, and Mugler welcomes everyone.
And I think I just met Casey because he's just backstage here. And what my first impression was really extreme authenticity.
Yeah, totally. And I think what I really love also about Mugler, it's joy. We love to say that Mugler, it's all about joy. And I think that's something very unique to luxury, because sometimes luxury can be distant. Can be cold. Mugler is not about that. Mugler is about party. Mugler is about entertainment, performance. And when you are at Mugler, everyone's a performer. And when you wear Mugler, it can be fashion. It can be also fragrances, of course, because fragrances are the big part of our business today. You have this, you know, festive energy, power. And that's really also what I really love about Mugler, and that I want also our day-to-day life to be like that. Of course, we work super hard. We want this brand to be back for good. We want this brand to be, again, really huge in fashion, in fragrances. So everyone works with total dedication. And I want there to pay a big tribute to this team who's working sometimes day and night, crazily, to make this brand what it is today and what it will be tomorrow. But it's always with joy. And I think that's also what makes Mugler so unique in the luxury industry.
And I feel the teams that I had the pleasure to meet, they're extremely helpful. They came in, they helped organize our setup, and it's fascinating. Then you can do things and break boundaries.
Totally. Yeah.
And when I hear Mugler, I also think about Angel, of course.
Of course. It's just here next to us. Of course.
The beautiful star.
The star. It's exactly that. The star is everywhere. You see, it's on my top, on our patterns, on everything. And yes, Angel is, there's no fragrance like Angel. No one is like Angel. It's very different, very unique. And I think that's also what's really true to Mugler, is that what we do, you can't see it on any other brand. It's only at Mugler.
I mean, already when you look at the color, I remember when I started working on fragrance design at L'Oréal, most of the fragrances, they were like transparent, or they were pink, or they were maybe some golden shade.
Totally.
But blue,
it's only Mugler.
There was none.
Of course. And sometimes when we discuss about Angel, we have that fun conversation of what if today I was to present to my top management a new fragrance blue? Would we do it? I'm not sure we would have the audacity to do it. But the story I was told was that Monsieur Mugler really wanted to have a star, because the star was sa bonne étoile, as we say in French.
Like a lucky charm.
Lucky charm, lucky star, that he was sitting on a bench at night watching stars, and that he really wanted to create a star. And he wanted this fragrance to be like no other, and no other color. And he did blue, because of the sky and
the night.
Exactly, and what we have when we watch stars, and this blue sky to be also inside the bottle. It doesn't stand. It's also very, very different, very unique. It's blue, and I think we can't talk about Angel without talking about this juice. That was the first sweet juice, the first gourmand on the market.
I just want to say, just very gourmand.
If you go back, it was born 31 years ago in 1992. And if you think of the big fragrances in the 90s, it was CK1, for instance, that was a big hit. So very transparent, very clear, unisex, the kind of fragrance that you wear, but you can hardly notice that you're wearing fragrance.
Extremely discreet.
Exactly, very fresh. And then came this ovni, Angel, very gourmand, very sweet.
Fell from the sky.
And kind of love and hate fragrance. When you love Angel forever. But when you don't like Angel, you're not going to wear Angel. And I think it's okay. We are really okay that not everyone can wear or wants to wear Mugler, and we are okay with it. But I think that this juice created a whole trend. If you look now at the top 10 of the market, half of them are gourmand. So it was definitely a very bold move, inspired by women, because the story I was told that Monsieur Mugler wanted to create a fragrance that when a woman would wear it, men would want to eat her.
I love that one.
I love that story. So it was also a kind of empowerment in this fragrance.
So would you say that the taste of women in fragrances, what they buy, what they want to wear, has shifted over the years?
Definitely, it shifted to much more gourmand, tasty fragrances. If you look today at the fragrances that are the leaders of the market, they are very gourmand. And I don't have the figures, but I'm sure if you look at the 500 new fragrances a year, more than half of them are gourmand. And it did not exist before Angel. So he did created a new olfactive family that is now one of the biggest of the market.
Well, I mean, looking back at your career, did you always want to work in fragrances, fashion, or is this something that just came up? I mean, there are so many young women who dream of working in this industry. You do both?
I'm so lucky. Fashion, yes. I've always been very interested. I wouldn't say obsessed, but not far from it by fashion.
Passionate.
Really passionate by fashion. I read books about designers, about big luxury companies. I was watching fashion shows. I was in my mom closet looking at her clothes or all her beauty products. So I was definitely raised in this universe. And I really wanted to work in fashion. And then when I did my business school, I started looking at internships, and I wanted to do marketing. And if you really want to do marketing and to have an impact, it's easier to start in beauty. So I started in beauty.
Fully agree. It's a great school to start, because then you can use that for everything you do.
Totally.
Because it's a 360 degrees approach.
Completely. And you really have an impact, you know, here in fashion. The one that's going to make a difference, it's Casey, it's his studio team, the atelier, it's really the designers, you know, the people working with their hands, drawings, behind their computers now, not only with pens, but also with their computers. So marketing, we help to create the magic and to sell. But if you really want to have an impact, it's much bigger in beauty, because you create everything.
Right.
You have a blank page, you write a concept, you work with a formula. For instance, in skincare, you work with the labs. You say, I want to do it in cream that can do this and this to your face. And you work with the labs with new ingredients, concentration, packaging, communication. You can really do everything. Wow. So this is really a big opportunity. Yeah. And then in luxury, you work hand in hand with fashion brands. Yeah. So it was a little girl's dream, definitely.
I remember when I started with L'Oreal, L'Oreal was 100% beauty, cosmetic, fragrance focused. And now, for the very first time, with the incorporation of Mugler, L'Oreal has also added to its portfolio a fashion segment, fashion brand.
Totally.
What would you say is now the biggest profit that the company draws from this very strategic move?
So as I was saying, when you work in luxury, the big luxury brands are fashion houses. So when you think luxury, I will not quote one of our key competitors, but I'm sure if you do a blind test about luxury, we know all of them. Very often they're French, and they are fashion houses. And in the second time, they create a beauty department. So we have that at L'Oréal. We have licensees, and those teams, I've never been part of those teams, but I know that they work hand in hand with fashion licensees. Here, we have the unique opportunity to have everything integrated. It's one team, it's one brand. So when we work on new launches for fragrances, for instance, we have one communication team totally integrated. So one head of communication who's working both on the fashion and fragrances, and then the fashion department and the fragrances department. We have meeting all together where we present new launches, and then we work on totally integrated communication. So for instance, if you take the last communication we did with Angel Elixir with Hunter Schafer. So Hunter, she used to be a muse that was in one of Casey's videos. And then it's my predecessor who had done that, but she chose Hunter to be also the face of Angel, and it was a very, very smart move because she's been working for fashion and then for fragrances. And then Casey worked also a lot on the communication with the agency, with the fragrance team to really have one integrated campaign. So when women see that advertising of Angel Elixir, they see Mugler. She's wearing Mugler fashion, and she has her blue star in her hand.
In my leadership trainings, whenever we address change with luxury companies, premium companies, I see that it's mission critical to have a positive leadership, to be able to really embark people and to develop what I always say, brand ambassadors for your vision, for your dreams, for your path. How do you win people over for your ideas, for your vision in these two very different sectors, fashion on one hand side and fragrances on the other?
So I would say that first, I really listen to people. I listen to their vision, to what they would love to do for Mugler. And Mugler is a brand of devotees. So people that work for Mugler, and what I saw when I arrived, they really love the brand. They are addicted to the brand. So before really trying to say, this is my vision and let's all go for it, I really try to listen to the people, what was the key success factor of Mugler, and how to keep that DNA, brand spirit, and energy. And then we have some meetings where we have both people from fragrances and fashion. And I'm also super lucky to be surrounded by strong leaders within Mugler. So the head of marketing, the head of fashion, we have a managing director for fashion, the head of communication, of business, and then we have management committee all together where we share big ideas, big trends, and then we all go on this journey together and share it with the whole team. And I would say that something which is quite linked to who I am is my leadership is joy and happiness. I'm a very positive person. I wouldn't say that I smile all the time because, of course, sometimes I'm
and I can
imagine
in creation when a new collection comes up, it's super stressful. No, it's very complex.
Yeah, but it's a positive stress. I always have that very positive vision to work. And when I go to work, you know, I always have that not always, but I would say 90% of the time, that positive energy. And I try to share this positive feeling and to be surrounded also by positive people.
This helps.
Yeah,
and keeps you driving as well.
So yeah, totally.
Positive attitude in whatever you do.
Yeah.
You also
at
said
the end,
you know,
at the end, it's fragrances and fashion. We are not saving lives.
Right.
We are doing a big difference. We can make people's life a bit better.
Yeah.
With fragrances, with fashion.
Emotionally.
Exactly.
Well.
Make them feel better with themselves.
Yeah.
And I think Mugler definitely has
self-confidence.
Yeah, definitely has a role to play with this. Whoever you are, whatever your age, whatever your gender, we give that self-confidence to all the people, to all the creatures that wear Mugler, fashion and fragrances, in a very positive way.
How important is that? And how much you can influence somebody's life when you allow the person to regain self-confidence.
Totally.
Then you can really do totally new things. You also said you listen a lot to your teams.
Yeah.
This recalls me an episode 2, where I interviewed François Zonal, who is the CEO of Champagne et Lançon. We went to Reims, and he said when he took over the brand, the very first thing he did was meeting a lot of people, listening to them before he then totally reshaped the brand platform. What did you do when you arrived at Mugler? What were your first initiatives?
So I did the same, but
really?
Yeah, I had something else. I was very lucky because when I arrived, I had a handover with my predecessor, and she had worked for more than 20 years for Mugler. So I was really lucky. So
That's a gold mine.
Totally. I spent time next to her, listening to what she was saying, talking about the brand. So it's the first thing I did. And then I did exactly the same thing. I set up one-to-one meetings with all the people who were working for Mugler, listening to them, their story, how they started their professional life, how long had they worked for Mugler, talking also about the integration with L'Oréal, because many of them were working for Mugler before the acquisition. Some were working for Mugler since they were in their early 20s. So this is really different, because when you work for L'Oréal, you change brands very often. And to have the opportunity to talk to those people who know really a brand from the inside, and sometimes for decades, it's definitely a gold mine. So I listen to them, what they love, what they would like to change, how they see the brand today, how is it to be with L'Oréal today, what I can bring, to the table, knowing quite well the group. Yeah. And after 6 weeks of handover, I started for real.
Wow. And I think this valorizes a lot of people when you give them the time to listen to their background and to their expertise.
Yeah, and it helps create a real connection, more than just, being all around in the offices saying hi. You had that moment when you know where they come from. I did it myself, explaining where I came from, my personal, professional past. Right. So they got to know me better too. And then, it's always better to start a professional relationship.
Yeah, because then you're not just the CEO who's dictating, but also a person to exchange with every day. I remember in my own leadership times, especially when I was CEO of, a competitive brand more, of Bobbi Brown and Estée Lauder companies, I realized that
it's okay.
It's okay. And it's quite some time ago, but I remember that one of the key challenges I faced was to always find the right balance between how much to involve into operational issues in the field with the sales teams and how much to step back and take like a strategic view more from like a bird. Which are the challenges that you face in your leadership role today?
So definitely step back is a challenge. It's what we call with my boss, stop and think. Have those moments where really you stop, you don't think about operational, but you really try to have that helicopter view, to have more strategic thoughts, big moves, long-term moves. So this is a challenge because especially when you start. Because when you start, you have so many challenges, and I'm someone who loves to go very fast. So I wanted to be super fast. Yeah, action. For instance, those offices, I found them the first 3 weeks when I arrived, and I wanted to. We had to move, find new offices. I'm really in an action
So this
person.
was your big project at the beginning when you took over?
Yeah, one of them, but there were many, and I think this summer, my objective was really to step back and to be able to have this moment of stop and think. And then not to be too operational. I think it's all a question about having the right team. So I'm really lucky because I have a great team. So I really trust them. And I think they feel trusted, so they can, of course, do all the operational. I love personally to be also in the operational, so to go in the shops, in the perfumeries. So I did that in the US.
This was my biggest challenge because I love that too. And so when I went to I was really tempted to even sell with the teams and to sit somebody on a chair and apply makeup.
But it's great. I think
it's the way you learn about the brand.
Totally.
No?
I think we need to do it. We need to do it sometimes to be, at the other side, talk directly to consumers, sell our fragrances, or, what I did a mystery shopping with empty bottles to have them refilled at the fontaine, in a Sephora or in a Marionneau in France. And I did it also in the US. I think it's also super important to have that very close relationship to the field.
Yeah.
But to have also those moments where you step back.
Right. And then you can also see what really helped me is you can interact directly with your teams, but at the same time, you see what the clients are saying, what they're requesting, what they don't like. Then you can make readjustments. So whenever I came back to the office, then I said to my team, we need to change this and that because I've seen in the field that.
But I'm sure your team loved that you did it.
Of course they did. But sometimes people did not understand, but more higher up. Why are you so much into the field? And that was a real trade-off to have different voices talking to you about how you should act and how to find the right balance, actually.
Okay.
Something else I observed, especially when I give trainings on customer experience, because I work a lot on customer experience, customer relationships. And one big challenge is that sales teams manage to do cross-selling, that they not only sell the product that the client wants, but that you also think, okay, what could I propose else? Now, you are heading a brand where you have, I would say, the luxury of managing the two teams, fashion and fragrances, so you can give them advice on how to cross-sell.
I would love that.
What do you tell them? What would you tell them? What kind of advice would you give so that cross-selling is faster because it increases the average purchasing basket?
It's not that easy to cross fashion and fragrances. It's not the same as, when you buy skincare, you can add a mascara or foundation. If you buy a fragrance, you add a body lotion, which is very true to the DNA of Mugler, for instance. Our ancillaries are very big in the weight of our business because people are really addicted to our fragrance, so they want the whole combo. Fashion and fragrances is different. I think what's different is that we don't have a physical shop, boutique, where we have both fashion and fragrances. We have our website on Mugler.com, and you can all go to Mugler.com now if you want to buy both a jean jacket or
so you see both
jacket,
are united in the digital world.
and a fragrance, even if you have fragrance on one side and fashion on the other side. And it's definitely a challenge. I wouldn't say to have people who buy both, but more to understand when they buy fashion, why they buy fashion, are they interested in fragrances, would they buy fragrances, and how to do both. It's still the very beginning, but definitely it's something where we have a lot to learn from.
Do you try to create synergies between the two worlds?
Yeah, of course we do. As I told you earlier, in communication, our social networks, Instagram is integrated fashion and fragrances. So we have both on our Instagram, on TikTok, in everything we do. Of course, when we have communication on fragrances, our models, they wear Mugler. So it's also a way to be fully integrated.
Yeah. In 2021, I remember there was this amazing exhibition Couturissime in Musée des Arts Décoratifs in Paris. And I went there and I discovered this very creative, extravagant world of fashion of Thierry Mugler. I remember the chimère and all this inspiration of insects. Amazing. I went there with my daughter. She loved it too. Do you sometimes look at past creations from Thierry Mugler to get inspirations for your future creations?
All the time.
All the time.
All the time. So in each collection, our studio is looking at pieces from heritage and from former collections to see what would be an inspiration for next key pieces.
Yes.
And I think what we really kept in the Mugler of today is also the Mugler silhouette. So oversized shoulders, super thin waist, and this Mugler silhouette, it's timeless.
It's just behind you. Huh?
Exactly,
it's just exactly the silhouette.
It's just behind me, and it's timeless. It was created by Monsieur Mugler in the 80s. And we still have it super strong today in all our collections, designed by Casey Cadwallader, in 2023.
If I may?
Yeah, of course.
Show something precious.
Totally.
And I found that in the office walking around, and I was told that these are real designs of Thierry Mugler.
Yeah,
right?
Totally. You see 1992. And when I look at some of the drawings, you see, for instance, those two ones, or even here, I see also something that could be designed by Casey today, of course, with the touch, the magic touch of Casey, with what he brought to the table and to the brand, but keeping always super strong our DNA. And, I'm looking of those years, and I'm going to give you another example. So in 1997, we had Les Insectes collection. That was a very strong collection to the Mugler brand. And we were super lucky to dress Beyoncé for her Renaissance tour. And what Casey and the studio created is this bee, queen bee, so really the insect, the bee, and it's definitely inspired by the insect, but completely reshaped and redesigned by the look of the studio and Casey of today. And it's the perfect link of how we keep our heritage and our history, but recreate it with the codes of today and the codes of our new designer. And you see immediately that it's Mugler. So even she had very weird glasses, kind of helmet. Huh? And many people in TikTok, they recreated filters to recreate that bee and that bee look. So you recognize immediately that it's Mugler, but it's designed by Casey Cadwallader today.
Danièle, what do you do in order to pass on creativity to your teams, in order to incite them to think out of the box, to develop in the different areas items which are, yes, in line with Mugler, like we said, but also in a sense new?
Mugler is a very disruptive brand. So it's not that hard, because when you work for Mugler, you know that you need to think outside the box. And if you do something too classical, it's not Mugler.
It doesn't fit.
Exactly. So we always say that if another classical brand can do it, we don't do it.
Okay, it's not our place.
Yeah, exactly. So this is easy. And then I really encourage people to always be in touch with what's new. In L'Oréal, we say, seize what is starting. So in Mugler, we need to be really in that always innovation spirit. So for instance, we were the first brand to sell digital collectibles, NFTs, fragrances, NFTs, and they were out of stock in less than 1 minute when we sold them for the Angel anniversary. And I think to be at the forefront of all those innovation, digital innovation, and to have that pioneer spirit, definitely Mugler. So yeah, I really encourage my whole team to always be in this mindset.
And you personally, where do you take your sources of inspiration from? Where is the place, or where are moments where you resource yourself and inspire yourself of what you could do tomorrow?
It's two different things. It's resource and inspiration. Okay. So resource is definitely with my family. So my family, I have two kids, 7 and 13. So my kids are my rocks. So if you work with me, you know my kids. It's not always easy for the one who don't like kids, but I talk about them a lot.
Yes.
They're really, they're my fuel. I can't live without my kids. So if I don't see them a lot, I'm not resourced and I'm not good at work.
I confirm. And they give you so much joy. I have an 8-year-old daughter and I mean, every day it's just, the hugs and the joy and
so teenagers is a bit different. You will see, it's not exactly the same hugs, but it's still the same joy.
Yeah, a lot of source.
And being a mom is what I love most. So if I had to do one thing, it would definitely be it. So I really find peace and after spending enough time with my family, I have the right energy to put into my work and the right passion in my work. And then I would say that I'm very curious. So I try to read a lot, news, also beauty, fashion news, of course, social networks, and talk to very young people. And I think that's super important. The more you grow old, the more you need to be very connected to what's up now. So I really try to, of course, from my team, from very young people, but also from qualitative groups with a very young target to see what's up there, what's happening, so you don't miss a big trend and you're really in the game.
You know, that's exactly one of the reasons why I decided to do a second position, which is my professor position, where I meet hundreds and hundreds of young people, all like beyond teenagers, but the Gen Zers of this world. And what I learned from them is amazing because you can really see what are the trends, what are they doing, how do they see the world?
Yeah, what's cool for them, which is not what's cool for us.
No, and there's one thing which I realize what is very important for them is that you make sense. I also see the importance they give now on sustainability, on circularity. Because they are really concerned about the planet. They are concerned about all the climate change.
We should.
And so my question and curiosity would be, in which way do you already integrate the whole sustainable aspect and maybe circular innovation in the brand Mugler?
So I'm lucky because it's part of the brand DNA since day one. So, for instance, our fragrances, they are all refillable since their creation. So, Mugler was created refillable in 1992. So you can
before any other brand.
Before any other brand, I'm trying to do it myself, so I could do it. And all our bottles are refillable. So you see, you unlock the cap, you unscrew, and you go at any point of sale in the world, and you can have your bottle refilled. So, and those fountains were created in 1992, so 31 years ago, and it's the case for all our bottles, all our fragrances. And what we have now, thanks to innovation, we have a refill at home, 100 refill at home for all our key juices. All our eau de parfum can be refilled at home. So you keep your bottle, it's definitely circularity, and you refill only the juice. And it's been like that since the creation of fragrances for Mugler. So it's part of our DNA. Sustainability is part of our DNA. One Mugler bottle is refilled every 25 seconds in the world. So it's a big source of pride for us. And even in fashion, we had upcycling.
One bottle refilled every
25 seconds.
25 seconds.
Yeah.
Wow. Across the world.
Across the world.
Phenomenal.
And even in fashion, I'm sure you saw it at Couturissime, but there was a dress upcycled with a tire.
Yes.
And the tire was made of a dress, and part of the tire was a handbag. So even upcycling in fashion was part of the DNA of Monsieur Mugler. So definitely it's something we have at heart.
Already at a time where nobody else talked about it.
Exactly.
And I remember when I was working at Marionneau, because that was in between L'Oréal and Marionneau, and then came Estée Lauder companies, the refill of bottles was a big issue. The logistics as well. Not easy to handle at a time when not a lot of brands did it. And now it rang me a bell because Mugler indeed was one of the first to incorporate
because, that. We talk about Angel and how it was created, but this bottle is a jewel. And when it was created, Monsieur Mugler said, no one should throw it.
You keep it.
You keep it forever. Yeah. It's also a very expensive bottle. So a way to be able to have women afford another bottle was the refill.
Yeah.
So you pay a bit more expensive when you buy the bottle for the first time, but then you can really refill it really cheaper. And the fountains were integrated in all the perfumeries such a long time ago that now they are still here and they are still working and they are still used. So
you do the refill either in the perfumery or at home.
Exactly. In the perfumery, you have less juices, you have Angel, you have Alien, and you have a third juice depending on your market. And we have the refill at homes for all our key bestsellers.
Looking at all of your accomplishments, you've done a lot. We worked in many different brands, in L'Oreal as well. You had many different positions. Looking back, what is the accomplishment you are most proud of, Danièle?
Professionally?
You can choose.
No, my biggest accomplishment is my family. So this for sure. I could be nowhere without my family. Yeah. So I think I'm good at my job because I have a very strong family and because we are super close from each other. Yes. And it's an advice I can give to any young woman, man starting in their professional life. I think if you give everything to your job, at the end, something doesn't work. It doesn't feel balanced. Yeah. If you have a very strong personal life, you can give the right energy, the right dedication, and you expect also the right things to your job. So I think this is the first things I'm really proud of. And then I would say the people I trained, the people that were in my team, as I said earlier, to see the leaders they became. Yeah. Many of them, I'm thinking of many of them, of some marketing directors that were in my team, in my previous life at Lancôme, or even at Bioserm, or today at Mugler. When I see the leaders they are becoming, it's a big source of pride. I'm really proud of them. And of course, it's thanks to them, but I know I had a small role in that way to become the leaders they are today. And then, what we are doing today at Mugler, it's a big source of pride. Be in those offices.
In the new head office now.
In the new headquarters. Each time I come here, it gives me a great smile. What we will do for fragrances next year for our 50th anniversary, I can't tell anything, but you'll be able to see
a lot of surprises coming up.
Going back to runways because with COVID and even before that, Mugler was out of runways, so we will be back.
You mentioned about the leadership qualities. What would you say are the most important leadership qualities to develop for becoming maybe one day somebody like you, brand director, maybe at L'Oreal? What would you advise young people to sharpen in their career in order to be ready?
I think first, find your own leadership style. Be true to yourself. You will not find two leaders that are the same. So follow your instinct, follow your guts, see who you are, and find your own leadership style.
Be very true to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And I think my leadership is about kindness. And it was not that fashionable to be kind 20 years ago.
You know what? I remember, I would say even 10 years ago, it was said, I don't mention where, but it was said that a good leader needs to be super strict and very authoritarian. And if you were kind, it was less powerful. And I think times have changed.
Yeah, and I was very lucky because I was surrounded with kindness. My whole career, I had amazing managers that became now mentors that were my sponsors at L'Oreal. No, I'm thinking of general managers and very often women. I was surrounded by very strong and talented women, and I'm thinking of the woman who taught me how to develop product, how to do communication, how to do HR within a team. And I have each of them, in me. They taught me so many things, and all of them were very generous, very positive, very fun. We had a lot of fun, and I think it's also important to be very serious, but not take yourself too seriously. And they were very, very kind, and I kept that with me. So someone told me, kill them with kindness. And I think it works. Personally, it's definitely one of the quality I kept and that I have in my everyday work. Be super close to people, listen to them, And curiosity is super important. Always try to see what's happening in the world and not only in your department. Look at what's happening in everything, you know, in technology, of course, in cars, in politics. Be curious to what's outside and then bring it to your table and find your source of energy, your fuel. Mine is family, but you know, some people today, it might not be that at all. Maybe it's be a true workaholic, but you need to have that moment when you have your energy and your resource. So find yours and don't forget to use it.
Yeah. And since you mentioned family a couple of times, I see it's very important to you. And this is a question I often get, especially from women. They ask me, Michaela, how can you do that? You do so many keynotes all around the world. You are a professor. You do the podcast. And how do you organize your family life? Because I have a daughter as well, and your professional life to keep it balanced. What's your recipe in that? What would you tell other women to somehow organize that in a decent way?
I would say first, choose. Which doesn't mean choose between professional and personal, but for instance, during your day, choose where you're going to be and be where you need to be 100%. And then my personal rule was flexibility, agility. You know, sometimes I go very early at home and I would spend a lot of time with my family this week, but the week after, I have a very exciting project for my work. And where I find my joy and my energy is at work. And then if I find the way to balance it later on with my family, it works. I think it can also help to have a great partner.
Who's supporting.
Who
understands what you're doing.
Totally. And it's my case. So he's been my best advocate and always really supporting my professional life. And we are two to tango and two to make it happen.
Is it a totally different field? Or
totally different. Totally different. But he's always been very supportive of my career and helping a lot with the kids. And then, you know, it's, I have a lot that question, of course. And sometimes I have women who tell me, okay, whatever happens today, every day I will leave at 6:30. So I have this number of hours with my kids. Maybe this recipe can work for you. It was not at all my case. My case is really to, balance depending on what's the agenda for my family, where I need to be and where I think it's important I need to be. So for instance, next Monday, it's back to school for kids.
Yes.
So for sure, I will bring them both to their
new classes.
Exactly. So my daughter, my son, I will stay far away because now he's big, so I can't be too close, but I will have an eye on how it's happening, and he's entering also a new school. Then I will be at home for lunch, and then I will go back to the office. And the day after, I have a big party on Tuesday night. And it's okay because I really want to go to this party.
Yes.
But if I feel, I'm sorry, I don't want to go, I need to be with my family, I don't go.
Okay. So prioritize.
Exactly.
And be 100% where you are at the moment, where you are right now. And don't think about too many other things around because then you are no longer focused. Right?
And enjoy the moment when you are in the moment. For instance, when I travel, I know it's not easy, but I love traveling, so I enjoy the travel.
Same. It's even a need. A need. And then when you're back again with your family, you say, you give them a big hug and you say, we're here again.
And they have other moments with their dad, with their grandparents, with their friends, and they're happy to have you back.
Is there anything you would do differently in your career, looking back?
I wouldn't do anything differently because it led me where I am today. And it's definitely a dream job. I'm so happy and so lucky to be at the head of this fantastic brand. So I wouldn't do anything differently. It's the way it had to happen. What I do is very often, one of my former bosses told me, we are much smarter 3 months later. I love this.
Good. That's good.
So it's true. What I do is with the team, we do auto criticize what we did. Okay, if we had to redo this project, how would we do it differently? And this kind of mindset, I do it. But in my professional life, no, I wouldn't do the same. It's I would say to my young self, don't worry, enjoy the ride. It's going to be great.
Yeah. So that was a little bit my last question to you. I think a very personal question. If you had the chance of addressing yourself to your young Danièle, to your younger self, what would you say?
I would say, yeah, it's going to be great. Because honestly, if you had told me 20 years ago, someday you'll be the brand president of Mugler for fashion and fragrances, I would have blushed, maybe cried. So I would say, yeah, enjoy, trust the journey. Yeah, sometimes you will doubt, sometimes it will be a bit hard, but you're going to have so much fun. You're going to learn a lot, and it's going to be great. So trust yourself.
Danièle, thank you so much.
Thank you
for sharing so much about your life, about your leadership, about Mugler, about L'Oréal, about your vision, your teams, the creative director, and everybody who's around you, your family, not to forget. Thank you for that. I really wish you for the coming months, years, the audacity, a lucky hand, and so much joy and fun to develop Mugler. Yeah, to make
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Michaela.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. And if you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, comment, write your comments either into the podcast you were just listening to, or on YouTube you were just watching us. Subscribe, because this will allow you then who's coming next, because you're going to move into another segment. I'm not going to tell you now where, but I invite you to the next rendezvous of the Luxury Leadership Talks.